Welcome to episode 7 of the Service Design Podcast. I'm David Morgan from Night Moves, and together with Stina van Hoof and in collaboration with the Service Design Network, we have conversations about service design with practitioners from around the globe. This is the 5th and final episode of a series in which we talk to the winners of the Service Design Awards. Today we're speaking with Frederik Kraft, Senior Expert Change and Transformation at Deutsche Telekom. They won the award for systemic and cultural change in the private sector. Hi, Frederik. Welcome to our show. How are you doing?
Yeah, hi, I'm fine, thanks. Sitting in Berlin, weather is, gray, like end of February.
I think it's the same here. Very gray and wet.
Yeah. Yes, and kind of stormy. So it's horrible weather here in Belgium.
Yeah.
So for our listeners, could you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Frederik Kraft, working for Deutsche Telekom in a department called HR Digital and Innovation, which is located in the headquarters of Deutsche Telekom. We are a company here, as the name says, that offers telecommunication services for business and private customers, and have about 230,000 employees worldwide. And our mission or our tasks is to provide tools for cultural transformation of the whole group of Deutsche Telekom, and to support business units in their transformation towards a more flexible, agile style of working. And I'm with the company for 13 years now.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And what is exactly your role? Your role in the company?
I'm a member of this team, HR Digital and Innovation. And I act as a coach and facilitator, providing tools and skills for the mentioned before, for cultural transformation.
Okay. Yes, and can you explain a little bit more to our listeners, like why we are having this conversation and with what kind of project you won the award?
Yeah, I guess we won the Service Design Award with our overall approach, how to embed a user-centric and innovation-driven mindset within a company. And it was not only one format or one project, but it was the overall approach, I would say, that convinced the jury to award us.
Mm-hmm. When did this approach start? How long is the story that you're talking about?
Yeah, it's the first concepts were carried out in 2013, I guess, at the mid-end year, 2013, and then we started with first pilots and first ideas on that in 2014, and had the full setup in 2015, and now we're up and running since then.
And how did it actually start? Did it start with a certain project you were doing, or was it really like the intention of Deutsche Telekom to become more customer-centric? I'm just curious how the whole journey started.
Yeah, it really started with the idea of offering more than just some good like mission statements or stuff like that, because if you pin up posters on the wall that tell you be more innovative or be more agile, be more flexible, whatever, that doesn't change anything. It just makes walls look nicer, but it won't help you to be more agile or to be more innovative. So we thought that it's about communication on the one hand side, that you need to have that to create something like a sense of urgency, but you would then need some more instruments that really help people to do the step before, to be more innovative, to be more flexible. And one if you want, so one big and one very powerful tool that we found for that was the design thinking methodology, which we applied in some business projects, and then got the experience that it first of all helped those members of the project to find better solutions, to find more customer-centric solutions than before, but also totally changed their mode and their way of working, because we started with a project setup, for example, that smashed the old idea of you have the experts that know what's good for the customer, and they meet up in a classical waterfall style project, develop something, and then try to bring it to market, do some big PR and marketing around it, and then try to sell something which the customer would not need at all. And we changed that way of working by, first of all, having multidisciplinary teams, so bring in more perspectives in the developer team from the very first beginning, and to have the customer's point of view and insights from the customer in that project in the moment that it starts. So this is basically how it all began.
So you work as an internal team. Have you at some points in time worked with external designers or service designers, or has it always been a team from Telecom?
No, it is from the very beginning on been a good cooperation between a bunch of external facilitators, design thinking coaches that supported us from a method point of view, and also, of course, from their experience and knowledge how to set up such projects, because we were, at least in the beginning, we were learners, and we were not very firm in applying design thinking methodologies. So we learned a lot from them, and looking back on our first steps, I must say that was a real success factor to have this external knowledge on board, providing us with all that skills that we just honestly just had read about before, or had seen some short YouTube clips, but they brought in all the knowledge, all the tools, all the mindsets that you need to have, and we could add our expertise in how a company and a large corporation like Deutsche Telekom works, and how all this, this like political stuff, for example, has to be handled in projects, and if vested interests, for example, show up in a project, and the one project owner wants to have it this way, the other project owner wants to have it that way, and then you have that conflict, and you need to somehow solve it. And there was some of the skills that we could bring in, and this cooperation and putting together the both worlds of external design thinking knowledge plus internal organizational development knowledge that made us successful, I would say.
Mm-hmm. And what was your role before 2013 in the organization, and the role of your colleagues that are now also on the team that is rolling out this design thinking approach?
Yeah, we were founded in 2013, so this unit did not exist before. I've been a specialist for change management projects before.
Mm-hmm.
And have you found yourself to be less relying on external designers as your internal knowledge grows and grows, or do you continue to see a value in working with externals?
There's first of all, there's of course still a value in working with externals and in extending your network and having much more ideas and perspectives than we could ever have only from our internal point of view. That's the one side of the medal. The other side is that we were that successful we never would have dreamt of in 2013, that we need to have the externals as supporters for all the various business units that approach us and ask for support in their projects. So we can't handle all the requests that we have because we have a team consisting of nine colleagues, but have a request from the business, which would easily would easily have to double our team to really serve all the requests that we have. Mm-hmm. We still need, of course, we still feel we need some fresh inspirations from the external consultants, design thinkers, but also need them to scale everything we do.
Mm-hmm. What would you define as the skills that now you have in-house and the ones you still see as external skills?
Oh, I wouldn't differentiate between them, because over the years a good pool of and a good cooperation between internals and externals has grown. And I guess what we could teach them, if you want to, was all that organizational knowledge and all that traps that you could easily step in when not asking the right questions. For example, in the first phase of a project, when you clarify all your objectives that you want to achieve, all the goals you want to achieve. When it comes to who should be involved, for example, in really making sure that all the prototypes that you build during a design process will then really be evaluated, and after that and in an implemented project or a new service, for example. And what we learned from our external coaches, of course, was a lot of methodology, a lot of tools, and most important, I would say, the mindset of customer-centric thinking and acting. That was the most valuable thing from my point of view that we got from them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So one thing that triggered a lot of interest with us in reading your project description is that you talk about a bipolar approach where you develop from top down as well as from bottom up. Could you please explain a little bit more about this bipolar approach?
Yeah, that was something that we found out, that if you really want to change the mindset or the culture of a company, that you need to start from both directions. So what would not work is to have it only top down. So you would start working with the board of directors, with the management board, for example, and then have like a cascade, have their direct reports, and then you have the next level and the next level and so on, and you would just bring things down from the top to the bottom. It would take you years, and all the employees in the bottom levels, they would not understand what's going on there and why everyone from the top management would talk of customer centricity, for example. So what we did is exactly that. What you said, the bipolar approach. We started working with our top management, but also had projects at the bottom line. So with all employees and all the guys who really do the daily work, and in combination, that made things much more powerful than if we would just have done it either top down or bottom up. So it was the combination of both, having projects on working level that were backed by management because they knew what we were talking about, and also have the top management trained, for example, in design thinking methodology to make them understand what this customer-centric approach is.
Mm-hmm. So they did all get different kind of workshops or trainings, or did you also bring them together in some of these trainings, or were there similar tools you were using, or was it still quite separated over these layers in the organization?
It was, for some occasions, it was separated. For example, we developed a leadership training on design thinking, which deals a lot with design thinking as a mindset and what a leader could do to enable his organization to work in an agile, flexible, and customer-centric way. And for that target group, it needs some other training content than, for example, on employee level, where we really teach methods and show people how, for example, qualitative research works or what prototyping is. On the other hand side, we have linked the management and the employees, of course, for example, in all these projects that have been carried out where design thinking was in place, because you have employee level working in the projects, but you have management deciding about results. So it is needed that you combine the levels and that you have the managers in place to take decisions, but take decisions on a valid level of understanding what customer centricity, for example, is, and why a project starts with interviewing the customer and not with, as we normally used to do it, something like an idea of technical feasibility or stuff like that. So it needs an understanding from top management how customer-centric working is carried out in practice, and it needs an understanding of how methodology in that way of working works on the employee side.
What we often notice in projects we're doing is that there's a lot of knowledge on employee level. So they have direct contact with customers and they learn a lot from those customers. And they often tell just one level higher in the organization what they learned and what they think should change, but that it never actually happens because it just stops at some point. So we also we're often thinking, how can we improve this process, that all the knowledge that is on the working floor and people that are having direct contact with the customers, how can we manage to get it at the top level of the organization so the right decisions are made? Is there something you can you elaborate a little bit more on that, like how you were dealing with this?
Yeah, of course. What we do is that we have a construct that we call product owner board that we add to every project. So we have people from the management, people that have to take decisions or that are responsible for getting the money for projects and stuff like that. So the management level. And we have them regularly involved in such projects that we carry out. So the product owner board, which normally for a project consists of something like 5 to 8 managers, would meet with the project team in the beginning of the project. And what their first task is that they do a reframing of the design challenge for the project, and they do it together. So it's not only the project team that reframes what is going to happen during the project, or what is the expected outcome of the project, but it's the managers and the employees together. That is the first step that we have. Then we start the research, which normally is done by the project team, but in a step where the first interviews, for example, or first observations have been carried out, and all results are put together in, for example, personas or something like that. The project team meets the product owner board again and tells them about all the experiences that they made during their observations and interviews, and explains how they put together the persona and what they would do from that point on. So before they start the ideation and prototyping phase, they meet with the product owner board again and tell them what they found out, and on which base they now start the ideation process. And then they meet the product owner board again after they did their first prototypes, and they invite them, for example, to test the prototypes. And it's not only the product owner board, of course, that tests prototypes; it's customers as well. But we found out that it's very important to have the product owners, the managers involved in that design process in various steps, not only at the end when you just showcase the results that you have, or you have the final presentation, but to have them involved into the whole process. And that really helps to get the knowledge about the customer needs into the management level.
You've been involved in change projects for a long time. You were involved with change, you say, before working on this project. Can you see any difference in a project of change where design is really heavily involved like this, and compared to the projects you did beforehand?
Yeah, definitely. I guess the most important difference is that whenever a change project in the old style was carried out, that management knew about the outcome and already had decided on the outcome, and then it was just carried out, and employees just had to take it, and it had to deal with communication a lot, and you just had to explain what was going to happen now. But as I just said, everything was decided upfront, and then it was just implemented. It was just carried out. the major change that we achieved with the new approach is that we start our projects with an open question. So how might we do X, Y, Z in order to achieve whatever for a specific group of people? And this could also be, of course, internal employees or internal business units, for example. So what we do is we use design thinking not only to have new products or to invent new products or services, we also used it to design our organization. So you could do a design sprint on the question how to be organized best to serve our customers' needs, for example. And then the topic of the project would be your internal organization. So the roles and the tasks and the management layers and the whole structure of your business unit would be a part of a design project, and it always starts with an open question, and employees and managers as well are involved in solving these questions or this question and finding out how possible solutions might look like, which then are tested. And if everyone thinks that this solution would be the one you would go for, then they would implement it. So the basic change really is not to have a fixed solution done upfront, either by management or what was even more likely to happen by external consultants, some management consultancies, for example, that just said, well, you have to organize this and that way, and then you just roll it out and inform your employees of what is going to happen. And instead of that way of working, we now start with an open question and then let employees and managers develop the best solution together.
That's good to hear. I can imagine, though, that not for all managers it's easy to make that change where they have to deal with open-ended questions that
You're
they
right.
are not in control of just deciding what will be done. Can you share some experiences about that or how you dealt with this?
Yeah, that's a question of whether you push or you pull. So the experience that we made during the last over the last years is that there's no value in pushing somebody into a new direction, because the resistance is that high that it costs you that much energy, or it wastes that much energy, that you're not focused on any targets anymore, but you just have to deal with all the resistance and all the we can't do it because of XYZ and all that discussions that you have then. What we do instead of pushing someone is just to work with the guys or the managers that want to work together with us. So we do a pull approach, if you want to frame it like that. And we form, our team lead always says we form the coalition of the willing. So we just have the managers or the business units working with us that approach us and ask for help. And we don't approach anyone and force them to work in that other style. We just have the people that want to work with us and support them in the best way that we can support them. But they need to approach us first and ask for help.
Mm-hmm. Does it then mean that there is like a part of the organization that will not approach you, that doesn't feel that they want this sort of help? Or is there a certain change in the organization that people get interested and everyone can see the advantage at some point and would ask for the help as well.
Yeah, that's exactly the thing that happened. We started with a very small group of managers asking for changing the way of working and the way of dealing with projects and changing the way of classical waterfall project management. And there was a very small group, and it wasn't easy to find those managers or those business units wanting to test the new approach. But after the first success stories that spread via the internal social intranet, for example, or managers that could tell very good stories about user-centric development of new products or processes during management meetings, for example. So it spread the word, and then more and more business units are approaching and asking for help. And after a very hard start, where you really had to find and to spot those innovative areas of the company, now it's almost from everywhere in our organization, we have requests for support. Yes, you're right. There are managers that still stick to, if you want to put it that way, stick to the old world and do not want to cooperate. And that's fine. That's fine for us. We don't need to force anyone to change, because we learned one thing, and that is that you can't put a change on another person or another system. You can just support another system if it wants to change. So forced change would not work, at least not in a organizational world where there's not the absolute need for a change, because the business of Deutsche Telekom is running quite good over the last years, and there was no, for example, no external pressure to have hard changes. So it really needs this intrinsic motivation of people to change something in the way they work. And if you have this motivation, then you can start from that point of view, and you have open-minded people then that really support your style and your way of working, and then you are successful if you have this this context. That's the context, is the context that we search for, and that we more and more find in the organization.
So, speaking of success, have you been able to measure the success of any of the projects where they took the more design thinking, the agile approach?
I have a poster in my office here, and just have a look at it, and it says 78.4% are satisfied with your product. Numbers. Now what? So the question back to you would be how to measure success.
Yes, that is always the question, especially in service design projects where the complexity is really high. So many different parties, so many different processes. You never know which change is responsible for what different outcome. But often we do find in some cases where there are certain numbers, if it's about products sold or services requested, there are some numbers you can measure, or as you say yourself, customer satisfaction. Have any positive numbers been measured in Deutsche Telekom with projects with a more design approach, or is it really too difficult to do that?
No, what we can say is that during employee satisfaction questionnaires, for example, in business units where there have been projects in a way that I just described them, that the employee satisfaction is significantly higher than in other areas. The same goes for customer satisfaction. After a product or a process of Deutsche Telekom was redesigned with the application of design thinking methods, this can be measured for sure. And we have numbers that significantly state more customer satisfaction and more employee satisfaction after design led projects or processes have been carried out.
In how far do you think those two are connected, employee satisfaction and customer satisfaction?
Well, I think they are directly connected because if employees really burn for their services or the products they develop and sell and offer, this would then engage customers and would lead to the same good satisfaction with the product or the service on customer side. So they are directly interlinked, I would say.
It seems like you've been working already for a couple of years on this this cultural change at Deutsche Telekom. I'm wondering what's next. Do you have any further plans?
Yeah, I guess we are. Although we are working now for 3 years or 2.5 years on that topic, as I said in the beginning, we are such a large and diverted company. So 235,000 employees worldwide. The main population is based in Germany, so it's about 130,000 employees in Germany, and I guess we are very well perceived in Germany at the moment, but it still needs to go much more international. So we still need to really be in every corner of the company. So the our approach is not at the end, and we even cannot tell when when the end of this process will be reached. I guess it's an ongoing process. So like a learning loop from project to project, and what's next is for sure being more international and being more in the business units that are outside of Germany and providing same services there, or even better, replicating ourselves in the sense of train design skills in the business units that are not in reach of headquarters, but that are, for example, in the countries, or that are in Germany, but are that far away from headquarters, for example. So have all the customer service companies, for example, or the technical deliveries, technical support companies that are spread all over Germany. So there's a way to go before the whole company has transformed in the way I described in the beginning.
Yeah. So it's actually about moving to all the different parts of the organization and getting more people on board with different roles instead of focusing on headquarters? Does it also mean different countries, or are you only in Germany?
No, it definitely means different countries. Deutsche Telekom is in, I guess, something like 40 countries worldwide. And we, here and there, we had some projects abroad, but there's a lot of potential there that we still have to cover. And as I said, we are a small team. So what we need to do is to replicate ourselves in the sense of train more people to have the same competences and skills that we have developed over the years to work in their part of the organization.
So, in the product in your description of your project, you also talk about the 7 strategic building blocks. So, communication, enabling, toolbox, labs, community, network, and hub. Could you explain a bit how you came to those 7 building blocks?
Yeah, I guess they evolved during our process and doing our research, and doing all the little bits and pieces and the for example, after the first projects that we carried out, we recognized that there was a need for training, because the project members asked for support on a method level, because they wanted to apply methods such as interviewing, for example, in other projects that they were in after the current project that we were engaged with was finished. So we came up, or the need came up to have that training, and then we developed training measures. We recognized that managers and leaders needed to be informed about the impact that user-centric way of working could have for their business units, and then we invented this leadership training on design thinking, for example. We recognized that if you spread the word by having the business leaders communicating their successes that they have in their projects that were run with design thinking approach, that was much more powerful than if we would communicate, for example. So we just gave them a platform where they could share their successes. Then we recognized that it needs much more than us to really have that super tanker Deutsche Telekom change direction. This is why the hub concept evolved and is now tried and tested in first parts of the organization. So it was, or it is, it still is a journey that we're on. And if you would approach me in a year, maybe there's an 8th and 9th, 10th, whatever building block, or some of them have gone and been replaced by others. So this is as the whole idea. It's an agile framework that at that very moment where we applied for the award consisted of that 7 building blocks, but yeah, there might be some more, some less in the time to come.
Yeah, it sounds really recognizable, the different stages you're explaining here. Like, we also often notice that we do a project and then, for example, we do some workshops in it and interviews, and then people find it useful for the process. So they try to do it themselves, or they ask for help from us to how they can implement the methods. But then you'd soon see that there is like more skills or more background information necessary to conduct these methods. So then it soon evolves into trainings and stuff like that. But for me, it's very inspiring to see how far you already got with it and how these seven building blocks are already there. I really understand why you guys won the Service Design Award for this. Why do you think yourself you won the Service Design Award? What do you think the reasons were that Service Design Network wanted to award your work?
That's a good question, honestly. I think it's the combination of having business projects run another way, having a communication throughout the whole company, having this community of design thinkers. I guess the combination of all these building blocks, because if you take each building block on his own, there's nothing innovative about it. So we all have ideas for training. We all have ideas for agile projects. All have ideas for how to communicate on social media, for example. I guess the combination was the reason for awarding us on the one hand side, and maybe that we were able to point out that this is not a theoretical construction, but that this is working in practice, and that this is working every day, and that we are doing it and not planning to do it sometime.
And what value does the award have for you and your team? Does it make a difference for you that you actually won this award?
Well, it was a good motivation for the team. It was a good motivation for our CHRO, who is really supporting us in everything we do. And it was something like a confirmation that we are on a good way. I guess that's the most important things. That it was motivation and it was confirmation, so that experts had reviewed our approach, and that from their point of view, it was recognizable, or it was awardable, and it's really cool to see that all that stuff we do is or seems to be that innovative that others think that they should reward it, and motivation and confirmation. I guess that's the 2 points that we can take from that.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I want to thank you very much for your wonderful stories and experiences. I think it's very interesting for many other organizations that want to go through a similar change. If people want to reach out to you, find more information about your work and your project, where can people find you?
They would just find me personally on LinkedIn, or they would just shoot us a mail at design-academy@telecom.de.
Okay, that's great. Well, thank you very much again, and congratulations again on winning the award. And thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks for the interview.
The Service Design Podcast was brought to you by the Service Design Network and Night Moves. For more information, previous episodes, or to join the conversation, please visit servicedesignpodcast.com. For more information about the Service Design Network, visit service-design-network.org, and for Night Moves, visit nightmoves.be. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing to this podcast. The intro and outro music is from If the Stars Grow Dim Tonight by Hydrogen Sea featuring I Will, I Swear. Until next time.